Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, December 4th, Erev Shabbat Parshat Vayishlach. Many of us remember back to Rosh Hashanah when word spread of the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May her memory be a blessing. And along with the mourning, the sense of loss over her passing, the drama that unfolded after her death was significantly related to the question of who would replace her and when that would happen. And we know what happened. The president chose to, which fully in his rights, to nominate a woman to sit on the bench in her stead, and that nominations process went through, and she now is a member of the court. I bring this up because in the context of that whole drama, there was a report from the family that RBG made a request that this not be a process that would be undertaken until after elections. And again, the president was in his rights to choose to carry out the actions that he did. But we should understand that we don't dismiss requests of and actions of people on their deathbed lightly. We don't put them aside. There are many halachos about a shchiv mera, someone who is in their dying hours, and the ways in which all the usual legal requirements to change ownership and to accomplish other legal things might be put aside because we want to carry out the dying wishes of an individual. Again, there will always be circumstances in which we say we cannot do so. And I bring this up because of the Parsha, the story that appears towards the end of the Parsha, which is the birth of Binyamin, that happens at the same time that his mother dies. She dies giving birth to him. The Torah says, "Vayihi b'tzeit nafsha ki meta," and it was as her soul was departing her because she was dying. Vatikra shemo Benoni. She named the son who was being born to her Benoni. And then the Torah says, "Ve'aviv karalo Binyamin." His father chose not to give him that name, or to allow him to be called that name. I don't think this actually happened right there and then, as she is, Rachmana litzlan, so terrible that she's dying there, and says, "You know what, honey, we're not going to use that name. I don't know what he did, but I'm going to imagine in my mind's eye the Torah is saying she named him as she named him." And at some point shortly afterwards, after the funeral, and the question was, what's the child's name? Yaakov said, his name is Binyamin. So something's going on here, right? It's a big deal to put aside the dying act of an individual, in this case, the naming of one's own child, and to insist that we will not follow that dying request or that final act. What's happening? What's going on? And I think everything, of course, has to depends on how we understand these two names that are given. Benoni is read in a few different ways. Rashi says you should read it as Ben Sa'ari, the child of my tsa'ar, of my anguish. Others, Benoni, Kimo Evli, says Ibn Ezra. It means of my mourning, the mourningfulness. There is a very clear trend here as to how we understand what it is that Rachel was saying when she named him this. Says Reb David Tzvi Huffman, Benoni, Kolomar Ben HaKe'ev, Ha'evel. So it's again the son of my pain and my mourning. So what happens in this story? What decision does Yaakov make? Yaakov says, I'm not naming my child that. I'm not laying this, how do we interpret this? First read, I'm not laying that on my child. I understand. And a woman in her painful, dying, grieving, birth-giving moment, gives voice to all of the pain that surrounds this birth, even as it's a life that emerges. And Yaakov says, I'm not putting that on my kid. And instead, he calls him Benyamin. What does Benyamin mean? Rashi, it has to do with being born in Eretz Yisrael. He's the only one of the sons of Yaakov who are born in Israel. Benyamin, the right is defined as Rashi reads it, as reference to Eretz Yisrael. Others, Benyamin means like Ben Yamim, the son of many of days. He is my Ben Zekunim. He is my child of my old age. That is the reference point that he makes. But it's the Ramban who I think presents the strongest rendering, because these two in the end put it forward another theological import. He's going to be the child of Eretz Yisrael. I'm not looking at it who he is to you, but who he is to me. To you, he's your Ben Oni. To me, he's my Ben Zekunim, right? But says the Ramban, V'chen kara oto Binyamin ben hakoach. He called him the son of strength, O ben hachozek, the son of might, because the right hand is a reference to the gevura, as to the power and might that one might have. What is in effect being taught to us? Again, it could be that we're just saying, I'm not laying that on my child. I'm not going to have him walk around always being seen as suffering kid, but rather some stronger reference point. I have to tell you, and please don't quote me beyond these walls, as it were. We have there's a church, I'm reframing it, there's a church nearby which is called Our Lady of Sorrows. Our Lady of Sorrows. And I have to tell you that for many of us, when I drive by and see the name on the church, I'm saying, I don't know if I want to relate my prayer experience always in that context. I wouldn't want to be in a place which is about reflecting on sorrows. I need to shift that energy. And even if we're filled with sorrows, we're not going to be, sort of labeling our experience and our identity around sorrowfulness. And that's, in effect, what Yaakov is saying. Mamala, my beloved wife, she named him as she named him, but we can't allow ourselves to be defined in these terms. And I don't want this child to be defined in these terms, and life shouldn't be defined in these terms. However challenging life is, however filled of sorrow one's life or the life of a community of people might be, it cannot be the defining factor. And you have to find something else, other essential elements which emerge and really define you, which have to do with one's capacity to persevere and to succeed and to, God willing, to experience all that is good. That's a lesson we take with us in trying times such as these. And even saying that these are trying times, we have to admit that they are trying times, and they're continually and increasingly so over these the past weeks and the weeks that might be following ahead. But it can't define us. And however much we are limited, and we cannot accomplish some of the things that we want to do, or even be together in the way we want to be together, as we've talked about many times. We can't be a Ben Oni people. We have to be a Ben Yamin people. The Jewish people and all of humanity. To the extent that we are Ben Oni, that we are people of suffering, then nothing fills us with any hope. Even a vaccine won't give us the energy needed to accomplish other things if we could have dour in our worldview. But if we are people who ultimately say, Kochi, Chozek, we will find strength, we will find our power, which we have with the capacity to bring forth, then indeed we emerge from these times stronger, not just surviving, but stronger. My friends, may we all be B'nai Yamin. May we all be people who live off of the strength, and indeed take the lesson that Yaakov Avinu taught us in this most difficult of moments, to find the koach and the strength that we have within to yet succeed and accomplish in this world. Have a Shabbat Shalom.